What I wish more people understood about mental health is that so much of what we've come to learn about it is very much incomplete. Mental health is so complex, and sometimes we walk around with certain understandings, certain preconceived ideas that actually cause us to feel more discomfort and shame around whatever mental health experiences we may be having. So today I want to talk about things that I wish people understood about mental health, things that are not always commonly addressed. And I hope that in doing this, it can shift how we view mental health. That can actually change how we treat ourselves and how we treat one another. Let's get started. The next idea I want to share is that mental health is not linear. We often like progress stories that go in more of a straight line, where someone might be struggling, but then things start to get better and better and better. The problem is that mental health doesn't really work that way. We are always experiencing different things in our mental health, and there are so many factors that can impact that. We can be affected by biological factors, genetics, nervous system patterns, accumulated stress, internal narratives. There are so many things, outside influences and internal things, hormones, how we're feeling physically. All of these things affect our mental health. And so it's common to have good days that might be followed by bad days. It's common to have an experience that feels more like a wave than a straight line. And even when you're doing all the right things, you're still going to have bad days from time to time. And that is not a failure. That's being human. Another important point to understand about mental health is that it is ongoing and dynamic. We're never at a point where we are complete in our care of our mental health. In the same way that you wouldn't go to the gym one time and say, well, I'm good now. I got a workout. I guess my body is good for life. Or I ate one healthy meal. I guess I'm good. So even as you do things for your mental health, maybe you go to therapy, maybe you practice meditation, maybe you deal with some deep issues that have impacted you for many years, just because you arrive at a place where you are feeling better and you're functioning well, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to stay that way, because there's always going to be new things that are coming up that impact how you feel. So just recognize that mental health is just like our physical health. It's always continuing, it's always changing, and we always need to show up to care for it. We need to maintain our mental health daily. Otherwise, we can have things that we don't recognize that are starting to affect us in negative ways. And that can really sneak up on us if we're not paying attention. So every day we want to take care of our mental health the same way that we would our physical health. Another idea I want to share is that you do not have to be a therapist to help another person who's struggling. Sometimes we think that if someone we care about is really having a rough time, we've got to have the perfect words. But you know what? You don't. All you need to do is be a compassionate human. Just showing up with a warm, non-judgmental presence. Being willing to sit with that person, being willing to listen, being willing to watch that person show emotion without jumping in or needing to fix that person, that offers that individual so much, perhaps more than any words can. And maybe that person does need additional support, but your willingness to be with that person might create an opening where you could help to encourage that individual to get other supports if they're needed. Just know that who you are and the warmth and the care, the compassion that you have, that is enough to really help someone feel better and to help that individual get regulated. Another idea that I want to share is that the stigma around mental health, it's not around words, but it's around symptoms. Sometimes you might hear someone say, I don't feel any stigma around mental health. But how do you feel when you're around someone who's starting to become avoidant, anxious? Or what do you notice comes up within yourself when you start to feel depressed or you're not able to rally and function the way that you normally do? See, the stigma around mental health so often isn't about the idea of mental health, but it's about how we treat people who are experiencing mental health symptoms, whether we're experiencing that with someone else or in ourselves. And the thing is that those symptoms are uncomfortable. And the kinds of situations they lead to can be unpleasant. It might look like people getting dysregulated and saying things that we don't want to hear, or someone that we really care about becoming withdrawn or avoiding us. These things are hard to deal with, but our willingness to show up and offer some grace to ourselves and others as they're having those lived experiences of mental health symptoms, our willingness to be patient, that can go a long way to help reduce stigma around mental health. A final idea that I want to share is that acknowledging a mental health struggle is a sign of strength, not weakness. Sometimes when we're not feeling great, we want to hide it or minimize it. But actually, if you're willing to take that courageous step and to make your struggle visible, to really tell someone, I'm not fine right now. I'm not doing well. I need help. That is such a courageous act, and it's often the first step in enabling a person to really get on that path of recovery, to get the support that that person needs and deserves. And if that person is you, know that you are so worthy of that. And stepping into your truth, having that insight and accepting what you're feeling as it's happening, that can be the thing that opens the door to you doing what you need to do to get your life on a better path. So just know that claiming your truth, being honest with yourself and others, that is an act of courage and an act of strength. The one thing I hope you take away from this video is that mental health, the issues are complex, but they're also deeply human. The more that we can start to understand about mental health, the more compassion we can show ourselves and each other, because this is something that affects everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. If there's someone you know that could benefit from hearing this message, please feel free to share it. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more weekly wellness inspiration. And I appreciate you joining me today. I look forward to seeing you next time.